We had a massive matchup with the Texas Longhorns taking on the Michigan Wolverines, and we learned so much from this game, specifically by Texas. To me, Texas is probably the best team in college football right now, and I'm excited to talk about what I personally took away from this game. There were certain players that I wanted to see in this game. There were certain matchups I wanted to see, right? I wanted to see Kelvin Banks. I wanted to see Cameron Williams. I wanted to see Jake Majors. And I wanted to see those guards and just how the offensive line, generally speaking, was able to handle what some people think is the best defensive line in the country, where Michigan has a couple of guys that are probably going to be in the NFL, right? You got Josiah Stewart, who really broke out, I think, last week, who even against Texas had a couple of nice plays. You had Mason Graham in the middle of the defense. You had a couple other guys as well. Kenneth Grant is another guy that's been getting a little bit of hype. I wanted to see how Texas responds to that caliber of defensive line, and Texas held up. Not only did they hold up, but they shut down Michigan's defensive line. Michigan's defensive line, I didn't see even generate pressure on Quinn Ewers. Ewers was mostly kept clean. He came in there and he basically felt comfortable, where he was able to go right downfield on pretty much every single one of the drives in the first half. To me, after watching the first half of that game, I pretty much felt that the game was over. Now, from a score perspective, it was 24-3 going into halftime. That's pretty much a game at that point. But, actually watching that game, you're able to see certain things that you felt like you just can't recover. Davis Warren looked really, really bad out there. In the first half, I think the guy had like 50 yards passing. It may not have been that exactly, but the guy was just, all you really saw from this guy was just checkdowns. You didn't see this guy push the ball downfield. And I think part of that was also because of, the corners and the safeties of Texas. I wanted to see the players on the defensive side in the secondary do a better job from Texas and really see what they do against a team like Michigan, where Michigan's pretty well coached, right? They're able to design concepts and schemes where, it's not as easy to stop as, Texas and the team that they kind of played last week. Guys like Andrew Makuba, Derek Williams, both had interceptions, but even more so than that, we got the linebackers, Anthony Hill. We got guys like Malik Muhammad and guys like Jalen Golbe, who all had some nice plays for Texas in the secondary. These guys did a really, really good job against Michigan. Now, obviously, I felt like Michigan, when you really looked at their wide receivers, weren't that good kind of coming into this game. We knew Loveland, the tight end of Michigan, was probably the guy to really stop. And Loveland did have 8 catches for 70 yards. He did also have a fumble that allowed Michigan to score another touchdown right before half. But, we knew coming into this game that Michigan really didn't have those wide receivers and those difference makers on the offensive side. Now, we did know that Michigan had, at least 2 running backs, maybe even 3, that could potentially get it going. And they were okay, right? Donovan Edwards bounced back this week. Last week, he really wasn't that good. This week, Edwards bounced back. He had 8 carries for 41 yards. Khalil Mullings didn't have as good of a game, but he only had 6 carries as well. 6 carries, 25 yards. But generally speaking, I felt like the lanes really didn't open for Michigan's run game. I honestly felt like, those guys had, a couple of big carries, but they also had some carries that were like 1 or 2 yards that put it on Davis Warren to have to bail Michigan out on like 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7. And he just wasn't able to do it on 3rd downs. In fact, Michigan went 3 of 12 on 3rd downs, and I think that was probably the difference in this game. To me, Texas forcing Michigan into long situations on 3rd downs was one of the keys to the game. And I felt like guys like David Gabenda, I felt like guys like Anthony Hill Jr. were coming downhill. They're doing a good job. And, they're forcing Michigan into like long situations. And even the defensive line did a pretty good job. Although Texas didn't have any sacks from the defensive line, there were definitely plays where they were able to kind of force the quarterback off his spot, make him a little bit uncomfortable. Plus, the quarterback did throw have 2 interceptions, and the 3rd one was a fumble. To me, one of the things that Texas did that allowed them to win this game was really win the turnover battle. 3 turnovers is really, really hard to recover from that. And I kind of want to just give you guys, my thoughts and opinions, how I kind of watched this game. I wanted to see the offensive line and how they protected Quinn Ewers. But literally on the first drive of the game, Ewers looked phenomenal, right? You got that big pass to Isaiah Bond to kind of open the game up. I think that one went for like 40 yards. He also had a nice touchdown pass to DeAndre Moore that was actually called back because of a hold. But you saw Ewers on that first drive of the game just go right downfield, right? He slung it. He was able to make plays. The touchdown pass to DeAndre Moore that got called back, that wasn't like Ewers threw it like 15 yards and then the guy ran it the rest of the way. Ewers actually ran out of the pocket, right? He had to extend the play. He had to create a play. And he kept his eyes downfield and he threw a really, really nice touchdown pass. Now, that one didn't count. And then they tried a field goal. I think it was like 48 yards. They missed the field goal. So although they started off on a great drive right downfield, they ended up getting no points out of it, which was kind of interesting. But that didn't really matter because then on the second drive, they literally went right downfield, same exact thing. And on that second drive, they actually ran the ball a couple of times, right? And they got the run game kind of going. And Ewers was able to hit Gunnar Helm for a touchdown on the second drive. The third drive of the game, they scored another touchdown, literally right downfield. Jarrett Gibson ran it in on a pin pull concept to the left. I think it was the left guard center that pulled out in front. May have been the right guard and left guard, although I don't think it was the right guard. I have to watch the tape on that one and relook at that play specifically. And if there's any guy you guys want for me to break down the tape of, any offensive lineman or defensive lineman, let me know in the comments below. Some of you guys know this. I work as a scout for the Hula Bowl, so I get access to most of the college tape out there. Texas, one of the teams I'll definitely have access to. But we got that pin pull to Jarrett Gibson, freshman running back, ran it to the left. And then right before half, Michigan tried putting a drive together. I felt like if Michigan was going to win that game or have any sort of chances to win that game, they have to be able to score on that drive, right? Because I think at that point, the score was 17-3. Michigan, a couple nice passes, couple nice runs. They're at like the 45-yard line on their side of the field. And Loveland, the tight end, ends up fumbling the football. And it was just a bad play right there, right? And as soon as he fumbled the football, Texas recovers, and Quinn Ewers on the first, I think it was the first play, don't quote me. On the first play, man, beautifully designed wheel route to Jaden Blue towards the left. Play went for like 25 yards. And then Ewers rolled to his left as they got closer down in the red zone, and he hit Matthew Golden for a touchdown. That's when I think the game was kind of over, because at that point you can kind of see the life, getting sucked out of Michigan. 24-3 at that point going into the halftime. Quinn Ewers was on fire, right? Overall, he might not have finished as good, right? He was 24-36, 246 yards, and then he had 3 touchdowns. And statistically, I know it might not have looked great, but I felt like he was a lot better than what the stats actually showed. Gunnar Helm was another guy that had a really, really good game. He had 7 catches, 98 yards, and a touchdown. Isaiah Bond had 3 catches and 51 yards. Matthew Golden, 6 catches, 41 yards. He obviously had a touchdown. Jaden Blue had 6 catches coming out of the backfield, which is pretty legit as well. And then we had a 55-yard run. I think it was 55 yards by Ryan Wingo, the freshman. So that was a really, really nice play by him as well. Generally speaking, I felt like Texas pretty much handled Michigan. And I'm not going to tell you guys I didn't expect this, because if you guys go back, I posted a video like 2 days ago. I literally talked about this. I literally talked about exactly what's going to potentially happen in this game. And this was part of it. I said if Michigan is somehow able to, have success running the football, and if they're able to be in third and short situations, Davis Warren might be able to make it work, and Texas could struggle there. Michigan has a top 5 defense, Will Johnson and some of the other guys on the back end for Michigan. It didn't matter, right? It literally did not matter. Texas just had too many playmakers. They had too many different weapons across the field. And it's crazy to me, man, because Texas has absolutely built a powerhouse at this point. Texas is, I'd make the argument, if there's 2 teams that you're going to put at the top right now, it has to be Texas and Georgia. I don't know if Texas is going to jump Ohio State for that number 2 spot. It might not even matter, because I think at this point, even if all 3, Georgia, Texas, and Ohio State go undefeated, I don't think Ohio State is going to, but if they do, it doesn't matter, right? Because these are going to be the 3 teams that are going to be competing. Although I think it's going to be Georgia and Texas. I think those will be the 2 teams that will really be competing. If Texas and Georgia are 1 and 2, then they technically won't play each other until that national championship game. It's going to be an interesting game, man. I think this is Texas this year, man. I really do think that. Quinn Ewers, phenomenal player. And you know what's crazy about Texas, is generally speaking, is if you know, if something were to happen to Quinn Ewers, right? If he were to go down, Arch Manning will step right in and be able to kind of carry and continue that success. But it goes even further beyond that. It's not even just Arch Manning. You know, if a guy like Isaiah Mon gets hurt, Ryan Wingo, the freshman, can step in and have success. He's a freshman, so he might not have as much success as a guy like Silas Bolden or Jonte Cook, right? Those guys are a little bit more experienced. But, you know, the point is that these guys are so deep. You know, if Calvin Banks, if something happens and he has to come off the field, you got guys that could step in. You got guys like Trevor Gosby. You got guys like Malik Agbo, right? These guys can all kind of step in, and these guys can all kind of rotate in and have success. You got some good backup interior linemen. Hayden Connor, senior backup center, right? He can play guard as well. I think in the past he has actually played guard. So there's a lot of versatility from some of the guys. There's a lot of depth. So I think Texas might actually end up winning this year. A very, very good game against Michigan, if you guys ask me. I want to know what you guys think, man. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know if there's any tape you guys want to see. Thumbs up, subscribe. We will be covering Texas this season, and I will see you guys next time with another video.